All right, so let's get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Davon Rees, CEO and founder of Vesterr, which is a crowdfunding platform. And we're going to talk about crowdfunding. Well, really want to talk about how you can raise capital through crowdfunding. So for those who don't know what crowdfunding is the use of small amounts of capital from large amounts of individuals or community to finance a business or real estate venture. So what's Vesterr? For those who don't know, Vesterr, we are a crowdfunding platform, Regulation CF. We launched in 2022, and we're designed specifically for commercial real estate, including hotels. Think of us as an alternative way to invest in commercial real estate and raise capital. And so what sets us apart is that we're individuals or non-accredited investors can invest as well as accredited investors. And for those who don't know what an accredited investor is, an accredited investor is someone who has a net worth of $1 million or more or an income of $200,000 or more. So funders can raise up to $5 million per deal, and we're a member of FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. All right, so just a little bit about us. Again, we launched in 2022. We're minority owned, Regulation CF, and we focus only on commercial real estate. All right, so what's community capital? So essentially what community capital is raising funds from people who believe in your mission. Think of it as a modern take on group economics, and it's where everyday people can become investors in real estate. So that's what community capital is raising capital from your community. And it's probably like, okay, Davon, what's a community? You know, it's really people that you know. That's essentially what, so whether it's your email list, social media, or just people in your family and your friends. And so how Vesterr works, you can submit your deal to Vesterr. You have to go through a pathway of going through due diligence and compliance review. Once we go through that process, and then you're approved, then your campaign will go live on Vesterr, and you can share your campaign to your network and to our investor base as well. And so the goal is to raise capital to help you close your deal. So the key ingredients for a successful raise is having a clear mission, having professional branding and presentation, transparent communication with investors, and a strong financial story with projected returns. And probably one of the biggest things is having a really good story. That's the biggest thing. So building your community before you raise, all right? Grow your email list, grow your social media following, host informational webinars and lives, and educate your audience about investing in real estate or investing in the type of real estate asset classes that you're referring to, whether it's hotels, whether it's, you know, car washes, multifamily. The biggest thing is educating your community, your people that you know, or even new people in your community on how they can get involved through investing. So marketing your raise. So leveraging storytelling and testimonials, creating that urgency and scarcity, sending weekly email updates, using visuals, videos, and reels to keep investors engaged and entertained. Support from Vesterr. So definitely that we support through legal and compliance guidance, campaign strategy and marketing tools, platform visibility and exposure and automation for updates and investor relations. So why Vesterr? I went too far. All right, so why Vesterr? So Vesterr, again, we're a crowdfunding platform, and so we are designed to connect deal funders and investors. So how? Those are actually our first investors in our first successful raise in Lake Charles. That's what that picture is for. So how? So crowdfunding platform built for real estate entrepreneurs, which enables you to raise from both accredited and non-accredited investors and designed to simplify SEC compliant raises. So this is just a quick snapshot of our onboarding process. The first thing you want to do is submit your pitch deck to Vesterr for initial compliance review. So once you're approved and it works for us, Then we will contact you to schedule an onboarding call. It's a non-refundable onboarding fee for $2,500, which includes a background check, a compliance fee for North Capitals. That's who's our escrow agents. Onboarding fee. You'll collaborate with the securities attorney to prepare any offering documents, which includes a Form C subscription agreement, offering agreement. So this typically takes about a 2 to 4 week process. You would submit your offering documents for review for North Capital. To initiate the opening of an escrow agent account. This takes about 48 to 72 hours to complete. So fundraising typically takes 90 to 120 days, and our fee is up to 5% of the total raise. So here are some requirements. So the sponsor funder is required to maintain oversight and control. Vesterr, we will ask for documentation and the fundraising process, including updates and distributions made to the investors. Vesterr is not for folks who would like to raise capital for single family real estate opportunities. Yeah, that's not us. We only focus on commercial real estate. And also don't use Vesterr if you only are going to use Vesterr to market your deals, meaning you would definitely have to reach out to the community to invest. So ways that people can invest, Vesterr, they can use their self-directed IRA, savings, mutual funds, stocks, or cash. Again, just the investor process for folks who don't know. Folks would view the pitch deck information. They will conduct their own due diligence, create an account to invest, and complete an investor questionnaire. It's free for anyone who would like to invest. We only charge the funders. So here's some of our successful raises. Genesis Development, they raised over $50,000 for a car wash in Rhode Island. AJA Investments used Vesterr to raise over $1 million to close on nearly a $12 million Holiday Inn conversion to a Wyndham. And we actually just recently closed on, we raised capital for We Stay Suites, which is an independent hotel in Louisiana. As I mentioned before, there are no fees to invest on Vesterr. For the investor, the funder pays up to 5% of the total raise. So what is a funder? I know you've been hearing me saying that term a lot. A funder is a term for every person. So basically anyone who raises capital investor, they're a funder. What's the minimum and maximum to invest for investors? The minimum to invest is $5,000 with the maximum of $5 million, and the fund determines the minimum investment limit. What's the minimum and maximum raise for funders? So the minimum investment to raise on Vesterr is $250 with the maximum of $5 million. That max is from the SEC, it's not us. And what is a funder, and there's their fees. I mentioned before, funder is term for any person who raises capital, and the funder pays up to 5%. So who manages the investors? So during the investment process, Vesterr will manage all the communications with investors. Following a successful funding or raise, the funder will be responsible for communication with investors. So we've been featured. These are the social media, media outlets that we've been featuring so far: the Atlanta Business Chronicle, CoStar, Hotel Investment Today, Travel Noir, and Hotel Business. That's me, Davon. I've been in the industry for over 15 years. I started off as a front desk agent, navigated my way to hotel ownership, and now I'm in the tech or fintech with Vesterr as a crowdfunding platform to help folks raise capital. That's what gave me the idea to launch Vesterr as a way to give folks an opportunity to connect investor to funders. Because when I was raising capital, it was kind of difficult to do it. And so it was hard to market it. So that's why I created this space, and Anand and his team, they helped develop the technology for Vesterr. So if you want to stay in contact with us, please connect with us on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, or send us an email. And if you haven't already, sign up for our free newsletter on Vesterr.com. And I am open up for questions. All right, here we go. It says targeting vacant and bank-owned properties and converting them. Okay. Wait, you may have to repeat the question. It says targeting vacant and bank-owned properties and converting them to furnished rentals. Okay, are there platforms for those crowdfunding for less than 50,000? No, I don't know of any crowdfunding platforms for folks raising capital for less than 50, because I know it can be pricey just to even get on the platform, on any platform. So no, I can't think of any, now that I can think of. No, I mean, you can check maybe WeFunder or Kickstarter. Maybe you can try Kickstarter. But I don't know of any. But I just know the onboarding fee and the compliance it may not be worth it. But it's a good question. Any other questions? Uh-oh, no questions? What? We only had one question? Okay, here we go. It says 250 is the minimum to raise. Yeah, we try to keep it at 250.
Hi, Devon. This is Takia again. How are you? Yeah, I'm at an event, so I had to step out for a minute. Um, so I am in the process of raising capital, but it's not a lot. I mean, it's just under 50K. So any best practices that you can share with me?
Basically what I mentioned throughout the presentation. You just have to, you have to build a community, if it's through, whether it's through email list or social media and through education.
Okay, yes. Yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm multitasking today.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no problem. And there'll be a replay out as well. I'll send out the replay. Okay, so we have some more questions. Are the Yeah, I answered that. 250,000 is the minimum. Yeah, we just try to keep it that way. Because typically with commercial real estate, that's the type of deals that you're seeing anyway. You know, you'll need, 20 to 30% down, and that's about it. Are the projects restricted to the US? Yes, they are. Even though we have the Belize deal on there, the owners are based out of the United States. So the deal is tricky when it comes to the deals that we've been receiving from international deals. The owners are not, they're not local, so it can be tricky. So it's just really just more so compliance. It says, so as a crowdfunding platform, what do you see as the biggest barriers for investors? I would say depending on the deal. So non-accredited investors can invest, but it's based off their income. So I noticed that's probably the biggest barrier. So you can, because we have a calculator, so it's based off what your income level and how much you can invest. I would say that would be the biggest barrier. Are group homes and buildings for nonprofits considered commercial? Well, group homes, I don't know, because that still sounds like it's residential. So if you're getting a residential loan, then it wouldn't be considered commercial real estate. But buildings, yes. What is the fund's target market? Any interest in multifamily? Yeah, we've had some multifamilies. I think the Lion Capital. Yeah, so we do all commercial real estate, as long as it's commercial real estate. So it doesn't have to necessarily be hotels. It's just we've been receiving a lot of hotel requests. If you don't meet the funding target, are you able to extend the time? Can it go beyond 90 days? Yes, it can go beyond 90 days. We actually, somebody who just had extended for a year. So it's one of the developments that says 20,000 per share. Is that what you have to invest in order to get a return? That's a good question. So 20,000 per share means the minimum to invest. So that's the minimum you have to invest to even get in on a deal. To receive a return. It says how much equity has to be given for a raise. Now that's something that you have to decide since it's your deal. So that's something that, again, you would have to decide, and it's probably best to work with the lawyer on that one. Because we don't decide it because we're just a platform. Do you work with tiny home community developments? I mean, nobody's pitched to us. We go by what's pitched to us. Like I said before, as long as it's commercial real estate, so probably not the individual homes, but whoever's buying the land to develop a tiny home community, because then it will have to be a commercial loan in order to do it, then yes. So we have another question that says, how many investors roughly are on the platform today? What is the target for 3 to 5 years? How many investors roughly are on the platform? Probably we've had about close to 100 folks who invested in deals on the platform. And then what is the target? You mean for the actual platform itself in 3 to 5 years? Okay. So the target for Vesterr itself, I would say from an investor standpoint and for a raise standpoint, I don't look at the amount of investors because it's hard to quantify that because the minimum investments, it varies. So that'll change. But I would say our goal is one, to become a unicorn. That is the goal for Vesterr. Two, we look to raise close to $100 million on Vesterr in 3 to 5 years.
So a follow-up to that one. So, and this is unclear to me. So is Vesterr something that, is it just the deals that you can invest in, or is it Vesterr you can invest in as well?
Oh, well, you have to talk to me offline for that one. If you like to invest in Vesterr yourself, we'll have to touch base on that. It's something different.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're in our Series A round. Yeah, that's something different. So we'll have to chat offline for that. It's completely different model and projections and everything. But I was referring to the deals on Vesterr itself.
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
Yeah. But it sounds like you were trying to invest in, yeah. So that's
No, you covered it. I was just asking kind of both ends.
Yeah. So we have, folks who do both. Okay. So we'll talk offline. So it says, in regards to a project, what percentage should come from crowdfunding SBA loan? Well, so how it works. So typically for a down payment for commercial real estate, it's about 20 to 30%. And so what people do, they use crowdfunding to help with that equity gap. So, and it varies with the SBA loan, because the SBA loan could be, 10 to 20%. So let's say let's say your deal is $2 million and you needed to raise 10% of it. That's 200,000. And, you could come to Vesterr to help out, with that gap. Or if your deal is 5 million and you need $1 million. So you will come to Vesterr to help out with that 20%. Because then we got another question. It says, are most funders bringing their potential investors, or are they finding them via the platform? Both. It's a combination of both, because they're using their community and then they're using our platform as well. Because we don't market a specific deal, we market the entire platform. So it says, can you give an idea of the numbers on a successful raise? We raised over 2 million so far for 3 different raises. And what the numbers, it varies because the minimum investment varies. Like we had one deal, the minimum investment was 15,000. The minimum investment for one deal was 13,000, one was 5,000. So that's why it's hard to go by with the investor, because the minimum investment changes. It says, what did a previous deal look like by the numbers? Yeah. So we had 2 hotels. One, they raised $1 million. Another one, they raised $1 million for the 2 hotels. And then the car wash was about 50,000. And then they use that to help with their equity gap, so that way they can get their loan. So hopefully that answered the question about the numbers. That makes sense as far as the numbers. I was hoping to see more of breakdown on actual returns, promise, equity given up. Oh, well, I don't want to use promise, because nothing is ever promised. So I want that word, we're not going to use that. Because everything is based off projections and it varies. Equity given up, I don't know all the particulars, because they weren't, because again, we're just a platform, so we don't really focus on that. It varies per deal. So I don't really, we don't get into that. We provide the information, but we don't get into, and the reason why, because again, we're just a platform and every deal is different. So the actual returns, because it depends on the deal. I think one was like a 2x multiple. Yeah, it varies. I don't even want to give out the wrong information, because it was 3 different deals, and we don't focus on that, because we just market the deal. Now there are some deals on the site now where you can look at, if you want to just look at, if you just want to look at what are the deals from like an equity standpoint and the minimum and equity given up, you can just go on to vesterr.com and just look at the current deals, and then that kind of gives you an idea. Whew. So we had another question. It says, what's the criteria for qualifying a deal on the platform? For one, you have to be under contract, or you either have to be under contract, or you have to have ownership of the deal, meaning you have to have site control. That's the biggest thing, that you have to have site control. So if you're just submitting an LOI and you haven't, and the LOI hasn't been accepted yet, or you're not in a negotiation phase with the PSA, then it wouldn't work. As far as and also, like, if you say that you're developing a Marriott, then we would need to see a franchise agreement with the Marriott, check the numbers to make sure it makes sense. The biggest thing is you have to be under contract. You have to show some type of faith that you'll get to the closing table, meaning if you can't get funding, because we don't want to jeopardize the investors. So those are the biggest things as well. Oh, and also you have to get your background check approved. If you go through a background check, and if that's not approved, then you can't raise capital. We had to deny a lot of folks because of that. Okay, it says if a developer is selling plots of land in another country for equity, buy hold, sell strategy, 5-year hold, would that qualify to be invested? So is the developer in the States or is the developer in a different country? But if you're selling the plots of land, you're not raising capital. It sounds like you're just selling it. So I don't know if that'd be the right fit for us. Yeah, I don't know if that'll be a good fit for Vesterr because you're selling plots of land in another country for equity. I don't know if that'll work because we just raised. I don't know. I don't think that will work for us selling plots of land. Mm. Well, these are some great questions. Do we have any other questions? Uh-oh. Okay. No other questions? Oh, wait, one other. Okay. What type of marketing does the platform conduct? So we use social media, we use email, I speak a lot, as you mentioned before, as I showed before, I'm in the press a lot. So that's a lot of marketing as well for Vesterr to get eyeballs to the site. So that's the type of marketing that we conduct as the platform. But again, when we market the platform, we don't market the individual deals. Now we have some funders they use social media, they're using Facebook ads, they've done press releases, they've done weekly webinars, which has been successful to help them. Okay, does the background check include financial? Specifically, do you look for a deal sponsor to document certain equity in relation to the fundraised property? No, we don't get into that because that's something that the lender would do. So like I said, if you can't show that you've been pre-approved for the loan, so yes and no, because that won't fall into the background check, but it'll fall into the lending process, right? So because the lender will look through all of that, the financials and your personal financials to see if you can qualify for the loan. And if you can't qualify for the loan, then you won't be a good fit for Vesterr because we'll be jeopardizing the investor funds. What we look for is a background check to make sure, you haven't committed fraud before. Make sure, you're not a terrorist. Make sure, people aren't suing you for millions of dollars because you owe them money. Like those are the things that we look for in background checks. Because, you're raising capital, large amounts of capital. So we check for those things, because if you've been found for stealing money, then we can't have you in our platform because then you may steal more money, and we don't want that. So those are the things that we look for when we're doing a background check, and that's something that is conducted through a third party. Some good questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I missed the first part of the presentation, so I didn't see what the onboarding cost would be to become a funder.
Okay. Oh, okay. The raise capital. Yeah. So
Yes.
it's $2,500 non-refundable onboarding fee,
Okay.
which includes your background check, which includes the escrow agent account fee with Nor Capital and compliance.
Now, is that if there's multiple people on that owns a company, do you do that per person or is that per?
If it's more than 2 people, then you'll pay. So that's a good question. So anybody who owns over 20%, then they will have to undergo a background check. So if it's just 2 people, then it's 2,500. If it's 3 people, it's 2,600. So it's just the more people, it's just the more cost for the background check.
And if you partner with someone unknowingly and they come back with like issues on their background, would I be able to restructure or drop them off to continue?
It's funny because then that's a case by case basis, because we have to see if we want to move forward with the deal. Because if this person is, let's say they committed fraud for stealing money, how do we know that this person is still going to be not going to be
affiliated? Gotcha.
Yeah, and we just don't feel comfortable, and we've had to stop a deal before because of a couple of deals we had to stop because of that, because the background check came that this person was sued for stealing $1 million.
Gotcha.
And how do we know that they weren't going to have be affiliated with this person anymore? So case by case.
Okay.
And to your point, they didn't know either that this person yeah, but they were like, whoa, we didn't know that.
Gotcha. I have a question that I want to ask you, but I want to ask you off record. So do I email you, or is there a way that I can?
Yeah, just send an email to invest@Vesterr.
Okay.
All
right.
Some great questions. All right. Well, if there's not any more questions, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight.